What's up, everybody? Another episode of the Joe and Joe Show. You have myself, Joe Rotunda, assistant matchmaker for main events. Jolene Mazzone, head matchmaker for main events and former NABF matchmaker of the year. Behind the scenes, we have our millennial producer, Anthony Haynes, our creative director, Alexis Swolivan. And today's guest is the legendary Burt Watson. Burt's done everything in the fight business, from consultant, advisor, promoter, and event coordinator. He's worked hand in hand with some of the best boxers of all time, and Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, and the list goes on. He was known as the babysitter to the stars during his long run with the UFC, and he currently promotes his own fights under Burt Watson Promotions.
You like that intro? You like that intro, Burt?
That boy did his homework.
I know my shit.
That boy did his homework. But I'm going to tell you one thing. The one thing you left out, I was smart enough not to get in that ring, baby.
You're right.
Very true. Very true.
All right.
I did for a minute, and I won the first one and lost the second one, but that was good enough. Okay, one whooping was good enough.
Yeah, I hear you. Everybody needs one whooping.
Where are you at?
Well,
are you in Philly right now?
I'm home. Yeah, I'm home. Been caught up with this thing that everybody else has been caught up with. As I'm sure you know, there's not a lot going on the regional level. On a little higher level, there is, because it's very hard to do events or put events on without fans unless you got that main event money.
I haven't seen it yet. Well, hopefully soon.
or a television deal.
Yeah, that helps.
Subsidize, not having butts in the seats. But if you don't, at a regional level, you gotta have people in the seats, or now that different networks are giving out various television deals, UFC Fight Pass, and, ESPN on some levels are giving out different television situations. But other than that, it's been tough for, our entertainment, period,
Yeah. No, I got you. Listen, you have this cult-like following in MMA. I don't think people realize your deep roots in boxing. So tell us, how did you get into combat sports, period? You started with boxing, right?
On a fluke, on a whim, with that. What the heck are you guys doing with that thing in front of you?
We play Jenga every show. I win every time, but today I might let Joe win.
Okay. You know what, Joe? If she lets you win, don't take it, because I know that one. She's got total control. But I started my career in boxing. Started with Joe Frazier, and kind of went from Joe to kind of coordinating various events, because he had guys that he had absolutely nothing to do with, aside from possibly doing a show at the Blue Horizon and putting guys on, but you had guys in the business such as Main Event, and Top Rank and Cedric Kushner and, DeBella and all those other guys. And, we did things, as I'm sure you know, by word of mouth. It was all word of mouth. That's how you got your job. If somebody liked the way you did your job, you got another one. And luckily, I did a lot of shows in Vegas, especially with De La Hoya. I was even kind of at one point almost had an opportunity to do the De La Hoya Gotti. But I did the Zab Judah fight, just kind of working with the various hotels.
Right.
And I was in Vegas, and we were doing a Showtime event, and Bernie Dillon was the promoter. So we're doing the event, and I was kind of in between weigh-ins and just kind of getting guys together, just kind of what I usually do. And the promoter came up to me and said, "Listen, man," he said, "I got this guy out here in Vegas that's going to be doing some events later on down the line, and he's looking for good people. He's looking to put some people together to help him coordinate an event." So, my motto was, you pay me and respect me, you got me. Period.
Amen.
Didn't didn't really matter who it was. If you paid me and respect me and gave me my way, I'm going to get it done for you. So I said to him, listen, man, we got the weigh-in today, so it's going to be tough for me to really kind of break away. And you guys know what it is. When you got weigh-in and things like that, it's tough to sidetrack into something else. But I found the time, and I said to him, I said, you know what? I'll meet the guy today at the weigh-in, you know, after the weigh-in outside. And so right after the weigh-in, he took me over. He introduced me to this guy, and he said, Burt, here's this guy that's starting this organization. Dana, this is Burt. Burt, this is Dana. So I shook hands with Dana White, you know, who was thinner than I was, didn't have as much hair as I did at the time. But, you know, we kind of had a very quick conversation. He said, yeah, look, man, I'm trying to do this thing. I got a couple of fighters that I'm managing, but I'm actually going to be promoting. And I need whatever good help I get. And they tell me that you're the guy to help me. And this was in October or November of 2000.
Wow.
I was at the MGM Grand. And so I said, sure. And this was, like I said, October or November. In December, he called me. He said, look, I got my first fight in New Jersey at the Trump Plaza. He said, and if you good, I'm good. I said, I'm ready to roll, baby. You know, and that was, but as a coordinator, you know, I do jobs, I do shows, you know, and I'm hired to come in, you know, and coordinate events. The only thing that I didn't do was the matchmaking.
It sucks.
Well, my hat's off to you, baby. Trust me. Trust me. So, you know, it was one of those things where I just said, you know what? If you guys got the situation and you got a matchmaker, you got the matches together, I can make it happen. The best thing that happened for me was that these guys gave me a job and didn't try to show me how to do it.
Oh, nice.
They just, you know, that was a little in the blind for them, but you know what it is.
Oh yeah, that's a bonus, big time.
Man, and when you got a bit of a reputation that you get it done, they kind of get out of your way a little bit. So they totally got out of my way. Dana gave me the bouts that were being made. This is the hotel that we're using. Where do we go from here? That's exactly what it was. So, of course, living in Philly, I was able to drive out to Atlantic City and kind of vet the hotel a little bit.
Right.
We need these many rooms, you know, and I need this for workout rooms, but a little differently because in boxing, as you know, your workout rooms can be this big because they're standing up, you know, and they're hitting mitts.
Yeah.
And to my knowledge, in MMA, the workout rooms was that big. Because they threw each other up against the wall, threw them around the floor.
Rolled around the floor, heads in their crotches, yeah.
I think you can put one more up there because I think you're winning. But,
he hasn't been doing nothing.
So it was a little different, you know, the space that I needed for workout. I didn't know because it was the first one I had ever done. First time I had ever seen MMA or grappling. I knew Bruce Lee and I knew Bruce Leroy. That's about as much as I knew.
Right.
So they gave me all the ballrooms, the banquet rooms, and the halls, and I got the rooms together, and then I had to sit down and coordinate the travel, you know, and they gave me a listing of the travel, and I had to coordinate not only the travel, call every guy, but then I also had to coordinate with the corners. Now, again, I wasn't totally prepared to do all that by myself. But what I had set up with him was a salary for me, and there was no salary for the help that I needed. Okay, because I wanted the job. So, you know what? But then that was okay because I'm going to tell you, man, I got the lesson of my life because I had hands on everything. Everything. Every flight that came in, every corner corner that flew in with another guy to make sure the quarters were in at the same time, setting the rooms up. And, people don't realize how intricate it is when you're coordinating events like that.
I think it's one of the hardest jobs in this business, minus the matchmaking. And I think if you do it once, because that's what I used to do, that's what Joe does, you have more respect for the people that do it. You get it. Like when somebody calls you and says, oh, can I have a king room? You want to say, you have your own fucking fingers. Get the king room when you check in.
Well, you know what? I made it a rule. I said, I'm going to tell you something. I'm going to get you a room, and I'm going to get you a room with 2 beds. All I ask you to do when you leave there, you don't take the beds or the blankets or the pillowcases with you. You leave it in the room. And, I found out you had to say that, okay, because guys would do that. But then I also found out that in putting those rooms together, there were guys that didn't like each other, that didn't like somebody in somebody's camp, but you had to be the type of person, and I'm sure when you're matchmaking, you find little things out like that, little intricacies of who to put together. So I had to separate floors and different sides of the hotels, and it wasn't just red and blue corner, because they put red and blue corner based on the priority of the guy. Okay, that's kind of the way they did it, or sometimes by camp. Well, in MMA, these guys, unlike boxing, in boxing, if you work in Burt's gym, you didn't go to Jolene's gym, or you didn't go to Joe's gym. You stayed in Burt's gym. And if you were ever caught in that gym, something was wrong. Okay, so something was going down. But in MMA, it was a little different because these guys shared corners. They shared coaches. They bounced around from gym. It's a little different now because guys go to different gyms now for different techniques. But back in those days, no. So it was a little strange, a little different. But you know what? I got it together. I did all the flights. I got all the rooms. Then I had to go to arranging the travel, the pickup at the airports, making sure that the guys were, when they're coordinating the flights, that they came in at the same time. But the one thing that I did was I didn't let them direct me. I directed them, but I kind of smoothed that out by first listening to them and then telling them what was going to be done.
Yeah.
What's going to get done.
Yes.
I heard you. Now you need to hear me because I got a lot of people like you going on, and it's all over the place. And it was all about respect. They love when you give them respect, and they honestly know that you respect them. Then you can.
You can get a lot more from them with respecting them.
You know what I was about to say
easy.
something, but I don't want to piss. I didn't want to piss you off. I was gonna say you can be a Jolene. Okay? And the way I see you handle guys, and the way I know, because I've known you a long time, and I see, they know you respect them. They know you respect their craft, and they know you know what they're doing, and you know what you're doing. So you know what? They kind of let it go and give it back. But once I had all that together, and I sat back, then I kind of had to figure out, now how am I going to go back and get a little more money for people I'm going to need to help me work?
Yeah.
And the answer was, you don't. You put that in there the first time, or you're done. So, it worked out, and I had everything set up, and then I got to meet the fighters as they came in, and that was a whole new experience because it was the first time I'd ever worked in MMA or MMA with fighters, grapplers, wrestlers,
Right.
Real tough guys.
All right, cool. Let's change it up. So if you've been on both sides, boxing and UFC, what in your opinion, what's the big difference between the two?
The level of respect is a little different. because, as I said, in boxing, guys train in certain gyms and train with certain trainers, but they protect that. They don't allow their trainers and their camps to go train other guys. Now, that's kind of the way I see it. But then in MMA, it's a little different, man. These guys share camps. Even if they're fighting each other, or going to fight that guy 6 months from now, you may have one gym that has 6 fighters in there who are all in different directions and may fight each other a little later on, but they share each other and they share camps. I never really saw that a lot in boxing.
No.
Not until the main event guys started really taking over, their activities and taking over the events, and kind of started bringing on guys that were working under them onto the card.
Right,
and,
right.
Other than that, that was the biggest difference that I saw, was that there was a total difference in how the camps operated, the level of respect, and how they showed respect for each other or disrespect for each other.
Right.
But there was no sharing camps. Okay.
All right, interesting. What I know you're a Joe Frazier guy. So Joe in their
No.
in their prime, Joe Frazier versus Mike Tyson, who wins?
Joe Frazier.
No questions, right?
Well, Mike Tyson.
I agree.
Mike Tyson was probably the hardest puncher that I've seen or you heard, because you heard every shot.
Right.
But Mike Tyson also had people coming in, again, personal opinion, he had people coming in afraid of him.
They were scared shit.
Yes, and when you go into a fight scared, there's no technical skill level. All that stuff kind of goes out of the window till you get hit, and then you have to put it in. So everybody was afraid. Whereas with Joe, even the level of boxers he had at that time. You had Joe, Muhammad Ali, Ken Norton, Larry Holmes, George Foreman, Jerry Quarry, Cooney. You had those guys that were all technically sound, that were all very good boxers, and those guys knew how to take a punch. I didn't see too many people that knew how to take a punch with Mike Tyson, because the first time they got hit, they were gone.
Right.
But
Holyfield.
Well, I was about to say, the only person I saw hit him back was Holyfield.
Right.
Because he wasn't, like you said in the beginning, he wasn't scared going into the fight.
No,
He had Mike's number.
And Mike realized that. That's why he bit him. It was like, shit, I can't get this boy out of here. So he bit him. But the fear factor took all the technical skills out of the window, and no one had any. So aside from me being a Joe Frazier guy and having worked with Joe, I knew Joe could take a punch. I knew that he wasn't afraid of anybody. So, the training that he did before a fight, he took into a fight with him. So, and very seldom, the only person that ever really, really hit Joe quick was George Foreman.
Right.
And
Okay.
George hit him quick and hard. And you know what? Joe was a little lacked off on that, so he wasn't really. How you gonna do that? Is he cheating?
He used to cheat, but I got his number now. I got his number. Burt, if somebody was to come along with endless money and they said, Burt Watson, I want you to promote either boxing or MMA, which would you choose?
Wow.
Endless money. You don't have to pay anything back. It's just endless monopoly money. And they want you to choose which combat sport to do.
That's a tough one. And I'll say that because
You're gonna lose a lot
I've
of fans.
seen you guys, and I've seen how you guys operate, and I've seen the level of talent and the pool that you've got to select from. In MMA, it is an endless amount of talent. So the toughness of putting a card together, you can do it pretty easily because you got a ton of guys to select from, and you get good fights. So now that I'm sitting and I'm talking, I'm thinking, I would probably say MMA because of the fact that putting the matches together are easier because there's so many guys and they don't look at records per se.
Right.
Well, this guy's only had 4 fights and he's 1-4, and this guy's had 12 fights and he's 12-0. In MMA, that kind of goes out the window a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what? If a guy's training and he's in the gym, he gets in a fight, and he gets to fight, and he gets to fight anybody. So with that, I would select that.
All right. Cool.
Well, you made me choose my answer. I would select MMA as well. I would now with all the information, now I would select MMA as well.
Well, with you, and I'll say this to you, and I've known you a while. I've only known one other female matchmaker, and I've been in boxing, I would say, since 80. I tried in 1980 to get a job with, I think Main Event started in 78.
Yeah, 79, 78, 79. Yeah, 78.
Okay. I tried, and at that time, you guys were moving so fast and pulling so many high-level Olympians and guys in and everything was moving so fast. You had a group, but the only other female matchmaker I've ever seen, I don't know if you remember Mike Akery?
Yes, of course. Mm-hmm.
He had a sister. Her name was Marcy. She was about that big.
Oh, really?
Marcy was maybe 4'10" or so, but Mike was the type of guy that he did all of his promotions, and he didn't want to give up off that money, so he had her do the
Really? I didn't know that.
And now, was she good at it? I saw some matches that, you can tell when a person walks in the room to do his paperwork what you got.
Yeah, yes.
If you know what you're looking for, okay? When they walk in that room and they sit down, they're like, oh. And with boxing, back in the day, it was $50 a round.
Yeah, a lot different.
Yeah, so you can look right away. Oh, this guy's coming to get that $400. So I'm gonna take my medical money out of his bag.
Yeah,
because he's coming just to get a fight. But MMA was a little different, and I only saw that because once I got into it, it was the talent was unbelievable. But I've only seen one other female matchmaker in either sport other than yourself. And I'm going to tell you something. There are 2 things that I vow I would never do.
What?
Number 1 is mess with tickets, and number 2, matchmaking. You can have those 2 things. I'm not messing with tickets.
Oh, tickets are the worst. They're the worst.
Y'all got that. You got that. When a guy
tickets and credentials, too.
Well, good. Luckily, I was always, anytime I did an event, I made sure that I created a situation where the credentials for the fighters came from me. Fighters in camps came from me. And it was a little bit of a hard job to do, but I personally I did this to everybody that was in that dressing room or was allowed in there. Because I personally, and I learned how to do that thing. I can do 110 guys in a half an hour.
Right.
So none of this where they slid it off and put it on somebody else.
Right.
But I would go to credentials even a little quicker than I would tickets.
Yeah, that's
tickets
true.
Worse, or I'd probably take a fight myself before I sit down and try to.
All right. What? Listen, off the top of your head, what's one of the crazier things you've had to deal with while running the back of the house?
And don't say when Alexis forgot the stools for the ring in the Hard Rock.
Well, I would say that one of the craziest things was a guy. I can say losing his heart because I ain't gonna mention his name. A guy losing his heart on the way to the dressing room, and this was in the MGM Grand. I know you guys have done fights there, so you know that walk from the dressing room. You go to the back of the house, and the blue is on one side and the red is on the other side.
Right.
Well, just off of the side to the blue corner is the exit of the arena.
Yes, up the stairs.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the strangest thing is finding out a guy that instead of going to the ring, he was going to leave the arena.
What, Burt? What sport?
This was boxing.
Okay.
This was boxing.
Oh,
and see,
shit.
here's the thing: is that when you work with guys and you train them, and guys that work backstage, when you give a guy a corner to walk to the cage or walk to the ring, then it's out of your head because you looked that guy in his eye and I said, you know what? When I come to that corner, I want to see him and those three people standing in that corner.
Right.
That's wild.
But
that's a good one.
There was a guy that they gave to me who I didn't really know, didn't know he was afraid of fighters. Okay? So when that guy was walking to the cage, I said, I'm not going. You know what he did? Okay. That instead of going to the corner, that fighter went up the stairs and was headed out, going back to his room. Luckily, I went over there and I had my corner in the corner and I had the commission. I said, look, I'm not really comfortable with that guy over there, so I want the three of you supervisors to watch this fight. And when I went over there, I saw him trying to go chase the fighter. And I'm like, where the hell are you going? And that's what he told me the fighter was going. All right.
Oh, that's a good one.
I got him back, but maybe I shouldn't have got him back because he didn't last a full round. Once the fight started, he got whooped on anyway.
No,
so he knew. He knew.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He knew. But I also knew. Like I said, you guys do this, and when a guy comes in to do his paperwork, you can tell. He ain't.
Yeah, you literally, I say it to Joe all the time. You know when a guy's a little sketchy, so it's like you gotta pay attention if he's the B side more to him during the week than the A side. And how many times have we had to do that?
Right, yeah.
And babysit him the whole time. One of the good stories, remember Dennis Dolchin?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Well, he used to do this, he used to run, one of his best stories was he was walking a guy out and he was a B-side and they were waiting to go like through the curtain to enter. It was like a smaller club show. And the guy looked at Dennis and said, I have to pee. And Dennis looked at him and said, I'm not holding it. He said, you got a corner? One of them could. Sure enough, the guy peed. The corner held it, and he peed in a bucket on the way to the ring.
I've almost won something like that, but he didn't. When I got in the corner, the guy, he's fidgeting around, and he's kind of fidgeting a little bit, and I said, what's wrong with you? He said, man, I got to pee. I said, here. And I had it, but he didn't. But you know what? I said, you know what? You go in that corner, man. And he was like, I can't hold it. And at that point, I was like,
That's on you then. That's on you in your corner.
All right. This Saturday, the biggest boxing match lines up on the same night as the biggest MMA fight. Which one are you tuning into?
Boxing.
Oh, solid. Burt Watson. All right. Besides main events, best boxing promoter you ever worked with?
Well, when you say best boxing promoter, main events, obviously. obviously, I've always gotten along with everybody there. In terms of, I'm going to be very critical of other guys and other promotions because this is what I do. You know, I am a coordinator, and you know that shit has got to be A, B, C, D, and E, so nobody gets F'd.
Yeah. Yes, that's good. I'm using that one day.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, you got, and I'll say, probably the people that were at work with Cedric Kushner.
Oh, like Rizzo and
Yeah, because I think Rizzo before worked at the commission. Did he work at
yes,
the commission?
yeah, he worked at the commission. He went to Cedric. He went back to the commission. Then he went to DeBella.
He was organized.
Yeah.
Everybody else, once I got there, it was reputation and name only. The cluster that I saw in some of the, and I'm not going to name the big promoters. Well, if I said main event and Cedric Kushner, you could name everybody else that was around at that time.
Yeah.
I've worked with them, and what the hell, shit, I'm old as hell. The first time I went with Don King Promotions, and, you know, I was prepared to kind of take a little bit of a backseat. Not a lot of a backseat,
Right.
but a little bit of a backseat. Boy, that was wrong.
Oh, it's a
Because
shit show. It was a shit show over there.
I had to take the whole, everybody, when you got there, everybody was all over the place getting stuff together. And when it came down to fight night, that stuff was like this. It was still all over the place. And I'm like, whoa, who the hell's got this and that and this and that? Nobody had it. Nobody. And everybody's looking at me kind of like, well, we hired you, so, you know, you go get it done. But it amazed me, but I wasn't too amazed because it was like that across the board.
Yeah.
You know,
It
spent
was
all week long doing nothing and getting busy and getting prepared for nothing.
It's
And
a
you
lot
know
of
what?
big. It's a lot of big promotional companies that have 50 people working for them. It's
Yes.
this person moves the chair, this person moves the towel, and then there's nobody overseeing everything or in charge or making sure things are getting done.
And the crazy thing is that the guy that moved the chair had somebody to come behind him to move it back.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? So it was kind of all over the place. So I would look and I would go behind them and put it in the right place.
Yes.
Or I would say to somebody, listen, I'm going to tell you something. All I need you to do tonight is to help me walk that fighter from the dressing room to the holder there. That's it. I don't need nothing else.
Right.
I didn't have responsibility for buckets, towels, mouthpiece, ice, water, Tylenol. I had Tylenol. I kept Tylenols in my pocket. Tape, gauze, I had all that stuff where I knew how to put my hand on it because, as you know, you can't really depend on anybody to do much of anything. And when you coordinate and the commission has you two on their radar, you two are responsible for everything.
Everything.
They're not going to anybody else for nothing.
Nope.
All right, off topic. Kanye West for president. You endorse or no?
Isn't this about the third time or fourth time he's done that shit? I think he's tried to do that before. When he's on his meds, he's okay. When he has a problem and he doesn't, But you know what? Stranger things have happened. I am so glad that I have seen the best and the worst of life and the world in my years. And I got so to the place. I used to be proud to tell everybody how old I am. I don't do that anymore because that gets in the way of me traveling and getting work. So I leave that shit. I leave that out of it. But I've seen the best and the worst of a lot of things, and in boxing and in MMA and in what we do is entertainment. So there is no such thing as no, because nobody ever wants to hear you tell them, no, I can't.
Right.
That's no such.
Yep.
And anything can happen. anything. So
Right.
I
You
don't
never
believe
know.
anything.
All right.
I just do it.
So
Let it
fuck
go.
Kanye. Your boxing Mount Rushmore.
Oh yeah,
We
it's a good one.
Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali,
Okay.
Roberto Duran.
Solid.
I was very impressed with Evander Holyfield coming out of the Olympics. I was very impressed with the fact that he lived up to the expectations and took it to another level. And then when he took it to another level, everybody had to get out of the way because it just went on a thing of his own. So I'm a little tossed between Holyfield and Sugar Ray, kinda.
Right.
And I'm keeping it in this era because if I had to go back, of course Joe Louis would be up there, and
Right.
Sullivan would be up there, but I'm keeping it in an era, and that's Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier, Roberto Duran, and I'll throw Holyfield up there.
I like Holyfield because he had his ups and downs and proved everybody wrong each time. That's what I liked, and how he went from the light heavy to the cruiser to the heavyweight and proved everybody wrong. That's
Yeah, he did, and that was right out of the Olympics, and he was in a category where there had to be 5 or 6 other guys with names, because it was Whitaker and Breland and a couple of other guys that had, I drink Grand Marnier and Heineken, bro. I see you got a Bud Light on there, and I see you going in your pocket. I see you getting ready to buy another.
I'm drinking vodka.
Lord. Well, when I'm done with this, I'm going to get a shot of Grand Marnier.
Yeah, we know you like your Grand Marnier.
Oh yeah.
All right.
I sip on it pretty much only at home and a little bit at night because and I'll let you go on site. Everybody knows that I drink Grand Marnier.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever seen Burt Watson drunk. Ever.
No, never. I haven't.
Or stumbling off a stool because people love to talk about you, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh yeah, he think he the shit, and I saw him last night falling off a bar stool.
Oh yeah.
So no, I ain't gonna let that happen. I'll let my grandkids do that, but that's it.
Yeah. We got 2 more for you, real quick. If you had to replace Donald Trump as president with one fighter, past or present, who would it be?
Holy SHIT. One fighter, it would probably be Sugar Ray Leonard.
Someone else said that. Brian?
I think Brian Adams said that. I think that's who Brian Adams picked.
Sugar Ray he's a pretty smart guy, but he has the type of personality that it's not always the smarter man who knows it all, but the man who knows where to find it.
Good point.
Sugar Ray would have been able to pull the right people in.
Sure.
Yeah, I see that. You want me to ask the last?
Sure.
All right, here's the last question. We ask this on every show. If one person you have to pick in boxing or MMA that you could punch, slap, lock in a room, or trip, who would it be? And listen, some people need to be locked in a room. Some people need to be slapped. So it's not so much that you don't like the person or what. Like, to give you an example, Adrian Broner should be locked in a room for a couple years. It's for his own benefit.
Years.
A couple of years. That's a tough one. But I tell you who I would lock in a room is Randy Gordon.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
I don't know the guy. I like that pick though because is he important? He's a fucking hater.
Well,
Say it how you
Randy
want to say it.
He used to be with the commission.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He used to run. I forgot what boxing organization he used to run, but he got to be friends with a lot of people. But he pisses a lot of people off at the same time.
Yeah.
And I don't know where that's coming from, because I was always under the impression that when you get older, you don't get cantankerous. You get a little nicer.
Right.
Okay? And I'll leave that alone, because I ain't going to talk about nobody.
No, I like that pick, because I follow him on Twitter, and like people are putting on shows, and he's shitting on the cards. Like if it's like a 5-5 guy versus 6-6 guy, he's like, this card sucks.
Right.
Shut the fuck up, man. Like these guys need to make money too, and why not have them in fights they could win too? Like,
tell us how you feel.
I know. I fucking kid you not. I follow him, and I swear to God, last night he was just shitting on a card that's coming up in I think it's Iowa or Mississippi, and he was just shitting on the whole thing, top to bottom, and it was like, why are you shitting on that? Like these guys got to make money.
Now, that's not the card with Michael Nunn on it.
It is. Against Pat Militek?
Yes.
That card.
I don't understand that. I don't understand that. Michael Nunn is what, 52, 53?
Yeah, Pat's up there too, man.
Pat Militek is damn near old as me, and I know that because I worked with him.
Yeah, you know who else is on that card? Jeremy Horn, I think, is on that card. You remember Jeremy Horn?
Is it? Yeah. I knew Jeremy Horn when he came in when he was 0-1.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Now, so is this the same? They're doing the same thing, because Jeremy Horn is an MMA fighter that he's got a little boxing skills, but not a lot, just a little bit. So they're putting boxers in MMA and putting gloves on.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I don't know.
But I agree with your pick, man.
Before I go, I got a question to ask you guys.
Sure.
What do you guys think about the state of our sports, being boxing and MMA right now, with these shows being done not in front of an audience, but just in a ring with no audience now, and they're hammering these shows out? What do you think of that?
I think my personal opinion, and I'm not calling any certain, right now is a time to capitalize. And fortunately or unfortunately, I can't speak for MMA, but boxing, how do you get guys to fight? With money. So the promoters don't have it because they're not getting revenue from, the attendance. Right. The people that need to step up are the networks or streaming platforms. Because now is the time, like at DAZN, for instance, that everybody's wants to see live sports. So you got to put on good fights. You can't just put on anything. And I'm not saying every week, but you got to put on that big fight and be like, oh, and they could talk about this. Oh, now they're doing live boxing, and because there's no live sports. Now's the time. Same thing with MMA. It's the time to now grab the people that we lost, and the networks have to step up.
That's the first time I've heard it put that way. But it's one of the things where everybody right now is in a situation where, and again, like you said, the networks are stepping up, and only the guys that have access to those networks are able to do that. Everybody else is struggling. And they can't do a show without an audience but you know what, like you said, now's the time to capitalize, because it has to be done, and until you don't have it, you don't know how much you miss it. You know? And,
oh yeah.
And as I said to you, Joe, I would sit and watch boxing. I've watched boxing the last couple of weeks, and it's been the first time since working with you guys that I really sat and actually, because I got into Kovalov and the other guy, I think it's Alexander. Did he beat Kovalov?
Oh, Alida Alvarez. Leader Alvarez beat, and then you also worked the B-ball, right? The B-ball Pascal.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I actually watched the boxing, you know, and it was the first time I'd watched it in a long time, you know, and I sit down, I watch, you know, I got to know my MMA because I now do, like you guys, you know, I it's not a podcast, but I'm going to be doing something called Legends to Legends, you know, where and Burt Watson didn't call himself a legend. That was somebody else that did that shit. I'm going to sit and talk to guys who are legitimate legends in the sport, and it's going to be basically a chat, one-on-one, about everything but what they've become a legend in.
Right.
Know? And I get to see that and listen to it, and it's a whole different thing, a whole different world. But talking about missing sports, missing boxing, you know. But
that's
guys,
great.
just don't forget your boys here in Philly.
Oh, we don't forget you. You were one of the top guys on our list for the podcast.
I see it. I'm sitting here, man. Nothing love for you.
All right, man. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
We appreciate you. Thank you, Burt. Take care. Stay healthy.
Thank you guys. Keep up the good work, because I actually heard about you before you gave me that call.
Oh, that's good. It's working. It's working.
Yeah, I did. Great job, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me, fellas.
All right. Take care.
They're a legend.
All right. Bye.
Okay.